Good afternoon. My name is James Balkcom, and we are here today to discuss Google Workspace. As you may know, we are a Google campus, which means that we use Gmail, and we will be using some of these other workspace techniques to be able to give assessments to our students, to be able to communicate with our students and parents, and be able to work together to be able to create a better learning environment for our students. So what I want you to do first is go to your desktop and go to Google Chrome and go ahead and open that up. I'm going to share my screen so that we can walk through this process and make sure everybody is the same spot. Okay, so right here I'm in Gmail, and one thing that you notice, can everybody see my screen?
No, I can't see it.
Okay, so let me share. There we go. All right, how about now? Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, so if we go into this Gmail, what you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, it has your logo for your Google account, and then has 9 dots. Can everybody see where my cursor is? So this is called a waffle. So we'll be referring to this, we'll be going back to this quite a bit. So go ahead and click on your waffle, and you should be seeing something very similar to this. So this used to be called Google G Suite, and they switched the name of it to Google Workspace. So our campus will be using these once again to communicate and to be able to give assessments to our students. So we're going to start right here in Gmail. So if you wouldn't mind, click on Gmail if you're not already there. So it looks like an M, kind of like an envelope with the Google colors. So Gmail is what we'll use to communicate through email. So we'll kind of go through everything in this that you would be able to use. On the upper left-hand corner, you see where my cursor is, there is a compose button. So go ahead and click on that. Okay, and you see it brings up an email message that you can send. So if we type in somebody, let's say, type in, for instance, Miss Dorsey, then it is going to autofill that. And you can just click on it in case you're worried about misspelling a name or something like that. And I can go ahead and add somebody else as well. So for example, there I am. I can add myself to the email if I want to. I can CC or I can blind CC as well. Okay, so Gmail has all these different options. Of course, you would type in your subject and whatever information you want in that. At the very bottom of this, when we're composing an email, you have different links here. You can add something, attach a file from your computer. You can go over here to this double triangle, and that is Google Drive, which we will get to in a little bit. And so those are a lot of things that you'll use quite a bit. You can link. Everybody see my cursor? You can insert a link. And over here, you can insert a photo. Okay, so that is what we can do when in Gmail. We can compose an email and send it to somebody. All right, do we have any questions about that? Okay, next up here, right on the left, right below compose, we have inbox. So this is just your normal email inbox that you get when somebody sends it to you. Starred, so you see on the left of each one of these emails, there's a blank star. If I were to click on one of them, or click on a couple of them, and I go to start, it's going to sort by each one of those important details that I got to go through. And go back to inbox. I can always unstart if it doesn't become important anymore. And then another one that used quite often is sent. So I use this quite often. If I know I sent an email to somebody with an attachment, and for some reason I can't find that attachment, then I will just go to the sent portion of my Gmail, and I still have my documents right here below that I can click on and save again somewhere else if I need to. So pretty interesting, pretty powerful there. All right, any questions so far on Gmail? Another thing that's interesting here, if I want to search, so we can go to search and I can type in somebody and it will show me some results right here. But if I click on them, it's going to actually sort all these emails to include the person, or I can type in just a random word or a word that I'm looking for. So if I want to know what day we're going to have to take pictures, there you go. I can type in picture, it'll come up. I can look to those emails very quickly and see which one of those I need to click on. All right, so that is Gmail. So this is be very often used here. Myself, I have Gmail as a bookmark up here on the upper left-hand corner. See my M, just click on that and it'll go directly to the email, actually for my college email. Okay, so any questions about Gmail? All right, so once this loads back up, now I want you to go back to your waffle if it's in front of you. Okay, is everybody loaded up on that? So let's go back to our waffle and let's go to Google Drive this time. So it's a triangle. It has the Google colors and it also says Drive right below it. So Google Drive is where you can save all of your documents that you have in Google. So a few different things here that we can go set up, very similar to Gmail, as you can tell. On the upper left-hand corner, once again, this is Google Drive. Has a plus sign that has a new beside it. So when I click on that, it brings up different things that I can add. Okay, so I can go to Google Docs and I can go over to this arrow and it shows me a few different things. I can go from a blank document or I can choose a template on that. So once again, we'll go through what each one of these means: docs, sheets, slides, and forms. And then I have a few more outs that are less likely to be used, but still good tools. All right, a folder, just like anything else. Google folder here just lets you store stuff and file it a little bit better. So here's an example of a Google folder. Right here, all my stuff from my last school, I transferred over to that. And so once again, you can transfer from one Google Drive to another. It usually takes a few days if it's a lot of stuff, but that is very, very, very helpful. All right. Any questions about Google Drive so far? Okay. Next up, priority. Okay. So if you have any of these marked as a priority, they're going to come up first. Okay, over things that you've edited. Recent is one that I use quite often. So I get up here and I just click recent and it comes down and shows me the things that I've opened here recently. And of course, starred is very similar to Gmail. I don't have anything starred on this email yet, but I will. And then lastly here, shared with me. So I probably won't have anything. Actually, there's a few. when somebody shares a document with you, they allow you to edit it a lot of times. And once I type something in, it'll go back and be with them in that saved form, just as I edit it. So if you know you're working on something with somebody, you can't find it in your normal drive, you can go to shared with me and find those documents a little bit easier. All right, any questions about Google Drive? All right. Couple of things here. If you notice, same thing as our search. If I'm searching for a particular item, it's going to give me some suggestions. If I click on it, it's actually going to bring it down and list those items for me. Okay, right there. Over here to the side is settings. You can click on that, do a few shortcuts if you need. So here's the settings, how much you have in Drive, how much you have in Gmail, your storage. Okay, a few different options there. You can make your priority ones your default home if you would like. So you can change that up quite a bit. You can change up your notifications and manage the different apps that you have. Right, so do we have any questions on Google Drive? All right, so let's go back to our waffle now. And let's go down to Google Docs. Okay, so it looks like a blue piece of paper with one of the corners folded. So when I click on Google Docs, it comes up and gives me a few different options here that I can choose from if I want a blank document, which is what I choose most often, an essay, and a few different types of reports that you can do, just to give you an idea if you need to put these into a template. Okay, but what we're going to do today is we're going to click on a blank document. Let's go ahead and click on that. All right. So once again, this is when you're typing, typing out a paper, typing maybe a letter to parents or a letter to students. You could use Google Docs to type that up, save it. You can share it with other teachers or administrators if you need to do that. So I want you to type a little bit in here. So type you a heading up there, whatever you want it to be. Type mine as the first day of school. All right, so one thing you may notice when you're typing that, if you look at up here, right beside where the title is going to be, it was saying saving as you're typing. So it saves very fast automatically for you. So that's a big feature of this. But right here, right now, my document is untitled. So I'm going to click in that and look what it does for me. It auto fills what I made that title to be in the document. Obviously, if there's something else you want to change this to, then you can do that and save it as whatever you like. Okay. While we're up here by the document name, I want to point out the things right next to it. You have a star right next to it. So if I were to star this, then in my Google Drive, it would be a starred document. We talked about that earlier, where I can search by starred documents if this is something very important to me. Next to that, it has a move symbol. So this is if I want to move this document from the basic folder in Google Drive, and I want to move it somewhere else. For example, I want to move it to my Tennis Hall document. I click on this arrow and just say move here. And then of course we have the cloud, so we can see everything that has to do with that. as we're looking through this, I want you to go ahead and type in one more thing here. So I said the first day of school. I'm going to change that to bold, underline. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to say the first thing I'm going to do is an introduction. Okay, I'm going to introduce myself. Okay, so once again, if you're kind of looking up there at the top as you're typing, it's showing that it's saving automatically, and that's a great feature. Remember back in the old days, you forget to save something and you lose all that information. It's pretty tough. So one interesting feature with all these Google applications, in this case, Google Docs, is if you look directly in the middle at the very top, you can open the version history right beside the word help. So you have file, edit, view, insert, etc. Right beside help, it's an underlined section that says last edited, in this case, a few seconds ago. So I want you to go ahead and click on that. So as you can tell, what I have in front of me here is what I just got through typing. You can see that it was edited, gives you the date and the time. You can name this version, final draft, whatever you want to name it, may help you out. Okay. Now I can go back, look at this. A few minutes ago, I click on that, it gives me my very first version right here, okay, which happens to be empty. Okay, I'm going to stay on the final draft real quick. So I'm just going to hit the back arrow. What I do want to show you is this. So let's say after I introduce myself, I'm going to introduce the class, and I'm going to let students introduce themselves. So once again, all this going on at the top, it's saving itself. Once again, I'm going to go up here and look at my previous versions. Is everybody staying with me? Okay. So I know my final draft a while ago. That's probably not going to be my final draft anymore. So I'm going to let's say first draft. I'm going to edit what it's called. Might change this one up here to, okay, I got 3 steps here. So I can name these first drafts, 3 steps, final draft if I get one. And that'll help me know where I am. So let's say for another class, I'm going to make things a little bit different. So I want to go back and I'm going to introduce myself, but for a different class, I want to print off a different paper. I'm going to go to first drafts, and up here, does everybody see the blue button, upper left-hand corner? It says restore this version. Does everybody see that? So I'm going to hit restore this version. Okay, so there it is. So it took away those next 2 steps. And for this class, the second thing I want to do is I want to hand out books. Okay. The third thing I want to do is talk about student safety. So instead of having to go through here and delete everything, I can just go to different versions of this same document, click on them, edit them if I need to, and then print them off. All right. Questions about that? Okay. before we move out of Google Docs, let's look up here at a few of these tiles up here. So we got file. So if I click on that, you see that you can open a new one, make a copy, share it. So this is what I was talking about a while ago. I can share with others where they can edit it or view it. Okay, I can email it to somebody, download it to my computer, etc. All right, here's the version history again, right there. Any questions about that? So, right, I can edit, find and replace is important, right? If I'm worried that I misspelled a name or something changes in my document, I want to find every Thursday and change it to every Friday. So I can do that very quickly. It'll find every Thursday and change it to Friday. Okay, so for example, if I want to, instead of introducing myself, I'm going to find myself. And I want to introduce my dog. How about that? Okay. And so you notice right there, it changed myself to dog. All right. So probably wouldn't be doing that in school, but any questions about any of that? Another big one here is insert. So a lot of times you want to insert an image, and it gives you a lot of different ways. I can upload it from my computer if it's saved on there, Google Drive, photos, etc. So a lot of different ways to insert a photo on this. Okay. All right. So one thing that we're about to talk about, we're going to do this next, is this button up here on the right is Google Meet. So this is very similar to the Zoom that we're doing right now. That's a Google version. So what I can do right now is I can actually start a Google Meet from this document. And what that allows me to do is share this document with other people and lets them edit it directly in front of me. We can talk about it and edit it together. It's a pretty powerful tool. Obviously, if it'll load right now. Okay, but anyway, that might have something to do that since we're on a Zoom, it may not be wanting to do both. Right, but Google Meet, we're about to discuss that. Any questions about Google Docs? Okay. All right, so I'm going to exit out of my Google Doc here on my tabs. I'm just going to hit the X, get out of that. So I notice I get back to my waffle. So that's what I want to get to. So I'm going to go to my waffle, and I am this time, I'm going to go to Google Meet. So it looks like a camera, still has the Google colors. Just click on that. Okay, so once again, very similar to what we're doing now. I can start a new meeting. See if it'll actually let me start one since we're on a Zoom. Start an instant meeting, you see right there. Yeah, I don't want to mess up my Zoom, so I'm going to click out of that. But so it's very similar. You can set a background that it won't be showing the stuff behind you if you're in a location you don't want that to happen, where it'll outline you, put a background behind you. You can make it blurry, which is a very good option. You can invite people, once again, through your school. So one of the reasons that I would be using Google Meet is if I want a face-to-face conference with a parent, maybe a student, or I can have students get in a Google Meet and they can be discussing things and working with each other on a document. So that would be pretty good to be doing a group project that way. All right. Next up, let's go to Google Sheets. So I'm going to go back to my Drive or my email, my Gmail, click on my waffle, and it's a green button that says Google Sheets. So once again here, I have a few different options when I bring this up, okay? Is everybody with me here on this sheet? All right, so I have my blank, which is what I use quite often. Notice that this is pretty interesting. I'm going to click on this for a second, the attendance. So it lays it out for you. This is an awesome thing. Well, a lot of times we're going to be doing attendance on a separate program, but for instance, House Bill 4545, this would be a good thing to use where students have to make up hours if they failed a STAR test. You could type in the student's name. Okay, they're present this day, and it may be known that each one of these is 30 minutes or an hour. So this would be a very good way to document that House Bill 4545. Okay, but really what I want to do here is I want to get back out of this particular form. Let me go back to my waffle sheets. Okay, there's a grade book, which is be another good one, but I want to go to a blank today. So once again, blank has the Google colors with a plus. So myself personally, I use Google Sheets way more than Docs. Even if I'm typing something up, I like the ability to be able to change stuff, move stuff around in these columns to give myself the spacing that I want. I think it helps out quite a bit for me personally to be able to do that. Okay, so kind of the same thing. You're seeing some of the very same things we had in Google Docs. Up here in the upper right hand corner, you can share it with somebody. Once again, what that does is I got to name it first, but it allows somebody else to edit it or view it, whichever way that you want them to do that. Okay, when I share it with somebody, notice down here at the bottom, it's the general access. So go ahead and click on that share button, that green button at the top right. So I can add people if I want to. I'm not going to actually send this to her, but so restricted, that means it's going to be certain people that I invite. Here we have Alto ICD, so anybody that's in that network can be able to view this, work on it, and then anyone with a link. So notice in the very bottom of this, I can copy the link, and now I can just send that in a regular email. So if I click on this, anybody with a link, I email somebody a link to that, then they can, it's now shared with them. Right. Any questions on that? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna we'll keep this as restricted, but all right, so let's go up here, get out of that, hit done. Once again, if I want help working on it, I can go to create a Google Meet and collaborate with some students or some colleagues. So let's name this one. All right, let's say we want to do friends' birthdays. Okay, so what I can do here, I can make this however I want. I'll say I'm gonna put the months on the top. So I'm gonna say months. Go that and say days. So my months are gonna go to the right. So I'm gonna go January, February. I think I spelled that right. And so on. I keep going from there. So obviously you could be doing a lot of different things here. The days, 1, 2, 3. Now notice what I can do here. This is one of the reasons I did this particular document. So it's I can change the size of these columns. Look at what I'm doing. You see, I'm over to the right side of column A at the very top. It gives me arrows going each direction. If I left click on that, I can drag. It's going to change the size of that column to where I need it. Okay. If I click on A itself, now I've got that whole column selected. I can do a lot of different things. I can go up here to the horizontal alignment. I can make them all centered. I can bold them all if I need to. I can change the font, change the size, a lot of different things I can do. Here's one thing I want to do here. So I'm going to go down to below my last number. I'm going to go to the far right side here. Can everybody see this? Summation sign is what it is, but it says functions when I hovered over it. Everybody see that? You got it? All right, so if I click on that, what I want to do is I want to do the sum. So I want, in this column, I want to take the number above it. So I'm going to click on A5. So in this case, if I want to do, like I said, the days of the month, obviously you can use this a lot in other applications as well. So I have that number 3 selected. I'll hit comma. And what I want to do is I want to add 1 each time. Then hit enter. So notice it added 1 to the number above it. Any questions on that? Okay. All right, so here's something very powerful about that. I can actually copy this formula and it's going to auto correct itself to change to the different cells. So click on your bottom number there. In my case, I have 4. And notice up here that I have the function for this cell. So I'm just going to click on the 4. In the bottom right-hand corner, can everybody see a blue square in that cell? Okay, I hovered over it. It turns into crosshairs or a plus. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that. I'm going to left click and hold. I'm going to drag down and it's going to copy that function. It's going to take the cell above it and add 1 each time. So pretty powerful tool here. Obviously, I could be doing a lot more stuff than adding 1. Okay. If I want to go all the way down and do all the months, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to copy it all the way down to where it is 31. And it auto-fills it. It auto-fills that function as well, which is awesome. All right, so now I can say January 26th. Like I know somebody with that birthday. Okay, so a lot of different things that we can do there with that particular copy function. Questions about that? All right, so let's say that I want to, I got this filled in, I got everything I want, but I want to create a title at the top. So I'm going to click on row number 1 on the far left. I'm actually going to right click and it gives me a few options here. I can copy this whole row or I can paste over it. But what I want to do now is I want to insert 1 row above it. So it moves everything down 1 row. And I want to create a title. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these cells, A1 all the way through H1, and I'm going to highlight them. What I'm going to do now is I can do this a few different ways, but I can go to Format and Merge Cells. So you see it has a few different options. If I merge cells all, even if I do a few different rows, it's going to combine them all into 1 big cell. If I do merge horizontally, if I have 2 rows, it's only going to merge sideways. But let's say I merge all here. So this becomes 1 big cell. So now if I want to do a title here or something like that, I probably want this centered. And I say, friends' birthdays. Okay, similar thing here. If I want to make this row bigger, I can drag it down. I can click on it and change the size of the font. Okay, everybody know how to change the font size? Just up there. This is another good thing about Sheets is I can click on the individual cell, change that font size or whether I want it bolded, and it's easier than Google Docs. Any questions about that?
No.
Okay. All right. So once again, we have a lot of very similar features here. One thing I want to reiterate is, let's say up here, once again, you notice when it was last edited, I can go ahead and click on that, open up the version history. And so there it is. The last one I just did, it changed that title. I can click back down here. If I wanted to go back to the original, I could restore this version. Obviously, what I'd probably do is a little bit later, once I add names, if I needed to come back to this is what I would restore, the one that I just did. So pretty powerful function there. I don't have to go back and do that all manually. Another very good thing here about Google Sheets before we move on is I can make these, the outlines here, okay, the borders on the columns, a lot of different options here. I can make all the borders. I can click and drag and put borders around everything. Okay, so go ahead and do that in your document just so you get a little bit of practice at it. So once again, it looks like a window up here. When you hover over it, it says borders. I click on that first one, it puts all borders on there. See, the one that doesn't have any black lines on it, that takes all the borders away from it. I think the function of this that I use the most often is all borders probably, but then I come over here and I can change the border color, or I can change the border size. So if I want one border to be a little bit darker, a little bit wider, I can do that right there. A little bit of that, make all the horizontal ones red. Very interesting. Wow, that's bright. Okay. Oops. So I can go all these columns, take that off. All right. Any questions about Google Sheets? Okay. I'm going to get out of Google Sheets here real quick. Once again, go back to my Drive or Gmail, and I want to go back to the waffle. Real quick here, I want to go through a few things. Google Slides, just to give you a quick rundown of this. So Google Slides is going to be very similar to PowerPoint. I click on a blank one. It gives you a few different options here of different themes that you can use, different layouts that you can have. Like I said, there's layouts up there where you can click and you can change the look of a slide very quickly. Type in what you want and create your presentation that way. So a couple of things I want to point out here before I move on is down here on the right side of the middle, on the very bottom, it has a little star. And when I hover over it, it moves over, it says Explore. So what this does, let's say I want to say, I'm going to make a presentation about football. So I can go over here and click football on Explore, and it's going to bring up some different images that I can use. Okay, and I can insert those images onto my slide. So pretty easy. Here, I actually added it twice, but I can move these around. I can insert those onto my slide and make it a little bit more presentable. All right, any questions about that? Okay. Next thing I want to do here is, if you notice up here on the far left side, right above the slide, there's a plus sign. So this is how you add a new slide. So I'm gonna hit plus, and now I can work on a different slide here. Okay, so let's say we have on our roster, be on a slide. I can go ahead and fill those things in. The last thing I want to talk about on Google Slides real quick. So let me name this. There it goes. It autofills football for me. I can change it if I want to. But if I actually want to play the slideshow, so up there by your share button on the upper right-hand corner, I hit slideshow, and it's going to load and start playing that for me. Okay, I started on the wrong slide, but there we go. Okay, so there's my first one. I click anywhere, it switches over to my second slide. So if I'm presenting it to the team or presenting it to maybe a booster club, I can go through that on a projector for them. All right, any questions about Google Slides? All right, so I want to do a quick overview here. Once again, I'm going to go to my waffle. I want to go to Google Calendar. So Google Calendar is where you can save things that are coming up for yourself personally and in your school. So what'll happen is, when you have the school system, if I go over here on the left side and scroll down, I have a few different calendars that are listed for me. Okay, so if you notice right here, I actually have my algebra class from the old school thrown in there, but I have some personal dates that I can type in. On the far bottom, it has other calendars that are in different colors. So everything to do with the high school is in burnt orange. Yeah, I like looking at the month view just like it is right now. So I can go over to August and start seeing a few more things. Okay, transition meeting. Pretty interesting. I didn't know about that, so there it is. I gotta be there at that. But so anyway, so that is in me. So it's my color there. So that's under me. I guess I got invited to that. So so once again, you keep track of everything. I don't have a lot of stuff saved in here right quick. I can unclick some of this. There you go. I unclick my name, and that meeting I'm supposed to go to on August 8th disappeared. So I click away from Alto High School, and all those different meetings disappear as well. So just a quick overview. If I want to add, say I have something to do on August 9th, I just left click on that. I can add a title. And down here at the bottom, okay, I'm able to add for myself, and then once again, last year's Algebra 1 class that I taught. So if I type something in there, it would be saved in that Google Calendar. All right, any questions about that? All right, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to get out of Google Calendar real quick, and one that I really want to go and get a little bit of view over is Google Classroom. So Google Classroom is one that you'll be using quite often. So what I want to do here is I want to create a class. So I'm going to go to a plus, and I want you to do this when we go to plus in the upper right-hand corner. And I want to create class. All right, so let's say I'm going to teach, let's say an Algebra 2. Okay, and it gives you a first, whatever section you want. That's my first section of it is actually Algebra 2. And room number. So I hit create. So it's going to make that class for me. And I want to show you a few ways that you can add students, or so a lot of times administrators want to be part of your Google Classrooms as well. I can customize the picture. We don't really worry about that, but 2 ways to add somebody. So I'm going to go, you see at the very top up here where it says stream, classwork, people, and grades. I'm going to go to people. So you can see that I'm a teacher for this classroom. You're going to see yourself right there. And over here, I'm going to invite students. So I can hit the plus sign right there. It gives me a link, or I can go down and click on different people to add. Okay, so if I click on somebody, I can hit invite. It'll send them an email if they click the link, that they'll add the class that way. So that's one way to add somebody to your class. The second way, I'm going to go back to stream. So this is what I like to do the first day of school to make sure everybody's in my Google Classroom, is on the lower left-hand side of this, you see where it says class code. So they can go in, and when you click join a class, it asks you for a code. That's one way so they just type this code in, hit enter, they're in my class. I can make it even bigger for people that can't see. I can project this on the board or just write this on the board, and they can enter my class. So from that, I can stream, I can make an announcement to the class right here. I can send links, a lot of different things to let them get the information they have. But here's the one I really want to look at today is create. Okay, I want to create the classroom work. So I can create an assignment. These things over here on the right, I want to look at. One thing here in the upper right-hand corner, if you can see my cursor, has a drop-down menu where it says assign. A couple of things I can do once I get started. So let's say chapter 1 test. So I can schedule this, and this is very beneficial if you can get ahead a little bit. I can schedule what day I want this work to be assigned. So once it hits 8 a.m. on July 28th, that assignment will drop to the students and they'll be able to work on it. It has a number of points here, the due date, so it brings up a calendar, and I can just click on what day I want it due. Insert a time if you want to. And in my different classes, I can choose which one I want it to go to. And if there's a list of students, I can click particular students I want an assignment to go to. So that is very important in a lot of stuff that we do today. All right, any questions on Google Classroom? Google Classroom?
No.
Okay. All right, last thing I want to discuss here is let's go back to our waffle and go to Google Forms. All right, so if I hit the plus button on Google Forms, once again, it's going to bring up, this is a way to give a quiz or ask questions for students. So let's say I want to talk about adding polynomials. Okay, once again, it auto fills that for me. Add 3x plus 5x. How about that? Very simple. So I can have this be multiple choice as it is now. I can put a few different options in there. If I hit enter, it'll move down and give me another option. Okay, and then make a multiple choice test for me. All right, I can make this required, so they have to answer it. See here, I can add images to this. If I need to plot a coordinate plane on here, they can look at that. It's a drop-down menu. It's a lot of different options that they can do for types of questions. They can have short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkbox, drop-down, etc. Questions on that.
Yeah.
And then to add another question over here on the right side, there's this column that has some different options. If you hit the plus on that, it just moves down and adds another question to that. So I can fill out these Google Forms ahead of time. I can put them into Google Classroom and schedule this where I can get ahead and it'll auto-fill for the students. I'll come back and get the responses and the grades in this fairly easy. All right. So I hope you learned a lot today about Google, being a Google school. I think it's very important for us to be able to use these things and make them beneficial to us and our students. Are there any questions before we go today?
I don't think so. I feel informed.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Have a good day.